Okay, I'm going to call the special council meeting of Village of Wolverine Lake to order for January 13th, 2021. Please stand for the pledge of the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Duff.
Here.
Dumont. Dramini.
Here.
Mallett.
Here.
McNutt.
Here.
Nedrow.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here. Have we heard from
I
him?
have not heard anything from Mr. Dumont.
Nor have I. I'll make a motion, we excuse him.
Okay, I'm assuming he'll be the next meeting later on this evening, but it's a motion by Duff, second by Jeremy to excuse Mr. Dumont. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Well, roll call vote. Oh, we don't have to, no, I'm so sorry, I've been doing this for too long. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. That's a great feeling. You don't know how long I've been waiting for that.
Just don't mess up at the regular meeting.
Yeah, I probably will. Okay, so call to the public, and I don't see any public here. So we've posted the meeting. So we'll move along to business, which is to interview our candidate Kathleen Behrens for village treasurer position.
Yeah,
So welcome, Kathleen.
thank you.
Our administrative committee met December,
Yes.
and previous administrative committee met last fall also. And so we interviewed Kathy a couple times, I have twice, and we wanted to get the rest of the council together to have a full interview and see what everybody thought. So with that, I guess we'll move forward, so.
And Council, I would just indicate that I had provided you a list of questions. We're by no means locked into those questions. You don't have to ask all the questions. You don't have to ask any of the questions if you want to. But those are just some suggested questions that the current treasurer, Mike Kondak, and I developed. I think that might help you out with the interviews this afternoon.
With that, I guess, Catherine, you wanna mention anything?
Yeah,
Start out
I really apologize for what just occurred. I'm actually supposed to be in the hospital, believe it or not, with my one doctor recommended it, and I'm like, no, can't do it, because I'm having some difficulty with some my legs, ascites in my legs, so it makes it difficult for me to get up from lower seated positions. But it does not create a disability for me or a hazardous situation for me.
Okay.
But I don't want to I don't want to go over my entire, because you poor gentlemen have already heard it twice for crying out loud. And
For the rest of the people that hear that,
I
you get
know,
the
but
brief
for the
summary of-
benefit of you folks as well, I'm a 22-year resident. I've lived here in the village. I recently left the employ of the city of Grosse Pointe Woods in November, primarily because of the working conditions. It was a difficult drive. My father has suffered some significant health problems. Lately, he broke his femur about 2 weeks ago and has been in and out of the hospital, and I realized that I have to get closer to home. That's the primary reason, obviously, and that I've left there at this point was just the result. It was kind of a poor working environment, a little bit of a different type community that I'm not used to. But you know, I was there 4 years. I did my job well, but it doesn't fit my life right now. My family needs me, and that's where I choose to be. I grew up in a family business. My family owns Woody's Restaurant still to this day, although it's not open. I don't know that it will reopen. All indicators are that we will not, but unfortunately, but we were, to date, it's 56 years strong, so I'm very proud of that. I started, believe it or not, I was hired by the Village of Wolverine Lake in 1994 as a part-time police dispatcher. That was my first job in municipal government. Virginia Martinson hired me. It was done on a dare. Brian O'Dott was your canine officer at the time. And Brian's like, man, he's like, he was at the restaurant one day having lunch. And he's like, man, he's like, you're a great multitasker. You'd make a great dispatcher. And I'm like, yeah, this sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. Oh, God. And it was. Hands down, it's still one of my favorite jobs ever in municipal service. But I moved on. I progressed through the various communities, Walled Lake. I left there in 2009. We had a complete changeover of the council, complete changeover of the management style. It went from a city manager form of government to like a administrative team approach. It didn't work out so well because no one's there that was there then. But the water under the bridge. And then I went to the Village of Holly for 6.5 years, loved it. Had a great time there. Thought City of Grosse Pointe Woods was a move in the right direction, and it wasn't a good fit for me, and it was time for me to get out. So that leads me here, and my conduct was aware that I had expressed interest in the past, just because of kind of my relationships that I have still with some of your police officers, the three Johns, I call them, the three, John, and John. And and I've been fortunate enough that with Dave Gillum coming in, which stunned me because I worked with Dave Gillum many, many years ago through Walled Lake, during his tenure with one of the law firms prior to his Royal Oak. So it just felt like a good fit. I had a bump where I thought, no, I can't make this work, and then I came back and I'm like, no, you can make anything work you want. And so that leads me to this point where I'm at.
Okay, good. Any of you guys have the newer council people have any questions? Because Bob, Dave, and Mark, and Mark and I, and we've already interviewed once, so we've got some insight of Catherine. So.
I guess the administrative committee has already spoken with her. What are some highlights that you guys have seen?
Well, I think that we feel that, going by her resume,
Definitely
she's
qualified.
definitely qualified.
Yeah.
She's been in the area here. It's kind of
Advantageous.
advantageous, yeah.
And after our administrative meeting, we felt comfortable, and it was one of the suggestions I had was that the whole council had a chance to interview with our candidate here. So everybody has a hands-on feel. On the Zoom, you just don't get the same, okay?
Right.
Unfortunately, we got to see her stumble now. But I made light of that, but I don't mean it derogatorily.
No,
But my
I
point
know.
being that this is the thing you don't see on Zoom, okay? You see pictures of each of our faces and our comments, but this gives a feel of to what's going on in the real world, so.
Yeah, you don't get the personality.
And it's the same process that the village followed in filling the administrator spot too. So I went through the similar interviews with the administrative committee first, and then the live interview with full council actually in this room.
Actually, in this chamber back in September or so. right?
Last time we used this.
That was the last time we were in here, yeah.
Yeah.
As a council, so.
Dr. McNutt, I can maybe address a couple things that I'm most proud of from my tenure with Grosse Pointe Woods, if that would
No, I was just.
if that would make a comfort
curious. No,
ring.
what I see on paper.
On paper, I
Yeah.
know, on paper,
Yeah.
I'm pretty darn impressive,
absolutely.
aren't I? Right? Oops,
So,
I'm sorry.
that's,
I'm just
No, that's-
teasing. No, but I've worked on BSNA for 10 years. You know, with COVID-19 pandemic, I was at work every day, 5 days a week. You know, as was Mr. Condick, I know,
Yeah.
because somebody has to go in and open the mail.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the reality of it is.
And just the distance is remarkable in itself. As you
And yeah, it was 38
It's a
miles
commitment.
one way. And then, but I also recovered almost, not single-handedly, obviously, but there's been a lot of money that's been thrown at municipalities as a result of COVID. Not so much small businesses, but at municipalities, there's a lot of money that was thrown our way. And prior to my leaving Grosse Pointe Woods, I mean, one of my proudest accomplishments was getting public safety payroll back for the months of March and April of 2020 in the amount of about $300,000 in grant funds. So I'm very up to speed on what's going on and keeping abreast of dynamic changes, especially in that environment. I mean, you know,
it happens fast.
it was like one day you go to work and the next day you're locked in your house for 2 months, 3 months. So, if that helps.
Absolutely. No.
I have a question on our questionnaires. Number 16, how long of a commitment would you be willing to make to the village if you were chosen as the treasurer?
10 years. I thank you for bringing that up. My plan is to work another 10 years and then seek retirement at some point. That's my long-term goal for myself. And if I am fortunate, blessed enough to be offered a position here at the village, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, unless of course you guys want me to.
You're pretty
But-
close.
But yeah, I mean,
Listen to Apple Orchard, so-
my plan is this being my last stop. There were some lessons that I learned that I've taken away from Grosse Pointe Woods, no question about it. But I'm not interested in furthering my career. I'm interested in being where I'm needed, and that's right now. It's with my family, and it's much closer to home.
Well, I know you mentioned in the admin meeting that your dad's right across the street, basically,
Yes.
from, so
Yeah.
it's just over
Yeah.
Commerce. So
Exactly.
I mean, it's real close.
Yeah, they're right right across from Glengarry Elementary, where I grew up.
Oh, nice.
So,
So,
and I'm on Apple Orchard, which, can I say that on YouTube?
You just did, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No delay.
So I'm on Apple Orchard, so literally I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from them.
she would have a longer commute than our administrator, but
I would, but Dave Gilliland has offered to pick me up in the event that I had car trouble or I wanted to go to work in a warm car, because it'd warm up between your house, my house, and then back to the
maybe,
right.
yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? It could happen. No, I'm just teasing.
I know you handled a lot of stuff for Grosse Pointe. It was a bigger community.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is, how do you feel you'd fit in a smaller office setting?
The
Because,
smaller
I mean,
office
There's going to be a little bit more, probably, scope of work to do. Mike, I know he does an awful lot of stuff
Yes.
as far as covering a lot of, everybody wears a lot of hats in a small
Mm-hmm.
organization, so.
And I like to think that I like to think personally I thrived working at Walled Lake because it was a smaller staff community that didn't have, support staff like a bigger place like Grosse Pointe Woods. And then the Holly was the same way. It didn't have a huge support staff. And I think I'm just a doer. If I see something that needs to be done, I just do it. I don't, and that was part of, I think, the dynamic at Grosse Pointe Woods, that I fumbled sometimes through no fault but my own, but because if I needed a couple reams of legal size paper from the basement, I went down to the basement and got them. I didn't put in a maintenance request to the DPW to go get me paper. So that's how I was kind of brought up, in the restaurant business. You don't want to do dishes today, Kathy? Okay, we'll go home. You do what you have to do. You do what needs to be done to get the job done. And Mike, I like to think that Mike does what he does because in a lot of cases there's no one else to do it. But in other cases too, I think that he's got an innate interest in it, and that led him down the path that he's been down, or that he's gone down. And I think of myself similarly.
Okay.
So I don't see it as being a problem at all for me.
One more.
Yes.
You indicated that work environment was a reason for leaving Grosse Pointe Woods. Do you feel, in your opinion, there's anything that you could have done differently to make that a little better?
Now that I know what the structure is, and I didn't know this the last time when I met with the administrative committee, but now that I know who was appointed as my successor, no, there was nothing different I could have done. I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that they wanted this person 4 years ago, but settled for me, so to speak, in the extent that she wasn't ready to take the position, and that's who they genuinely wanted because she had been there and had somewhat of a history. But now in hindsight, it was, it is what it is. I'm just trying to move on.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, in terms of when you were at Holly and having such a great experience there, what were the key aspects of that made that such a pleasant experience? And
Holly?
Yes.
Oh, definitely. It would be the administrative team that I worked with. It would be the village. Holly was a village as well, or is, I should say. It hasn't changed. But it would be the village administrator I worked with, as well as, we had an awesome fire chief, a great police chief. Our DPW guy was top notch. We all meshed really well. We all worked together really well. And you'll see that Jerry Walker is somebody that I worked with at Walled Lake. There's that dynamic, that connection between him, Walled Lake, and me, and Holly as well, because he was a village administrator. So I've been really blessed to work with him at 2 different communities. But I have to say that when I started at Holly, they have the cutest little niche downtown. If you've ever been up there, it's super cute. It's a lot like Milford, but probably not as high end as Milford. But it's really a cute downtown. And you could literally throw a bowling ball down the center of Main Street and not hit a soul. And at this day, I turned the volume down, I swear to God. Okay, strike number 2. And to this day, at this time, I know, even with the pandemic, it's still 100% occupied. And that was something that both Jerry and I were extremely proud of, because we encouraged relationships and we encouraged positive working relationships within our building department to ensure that contractors got what they needed, the inspections were done, and that the business owners got what they needed, and that sort of thing. And we really worked hard to get that downtown filled up, and we did. And it's still to this day, I don't want to say if you get a chance to go up and visit, but it really is cute. It's got a lot of nice little restaurants, a lot of niche type stores, and, just little, like, I call them Hallmark stores, but they're not really Hallmark. But, they just have something for everybody. So, when we don't really have a downtown district in Wolverine Lake, so I don't think I'm dissing it. I'm totally happy with Wags and Whiskers and, the Fish and Lure place, but.
Yeah, we don't have many restaurants either.
No.
And you can't eat in Holly right now anyways, right?
Yeah, well, no, they're doing curbside and carry out, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically kind of the full circle connection with the Holly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know, I think that the administrative committee thought that, with Kathy's background and meeting her at least one occasion, we felt comfortable that she would be a good fit for the village here, so that's why basically I think we brought it to full council, see what they were thinking, see what you guys thought, and see what you felt, so. And any other questions for Catherine right now? Seeing none?
You know what, I do have one more question.
Okay.
So let me get back to it here. In your personal references, okay,
Yes,
you have a Matthew J. McDonald,
I do.
owner of McDonald Financial.
Yes, sir.
If we were to call that man, what would he tell us?
Matt would tell you that I am incredibly hardworking. I'm smart. I'm actually helping him out in his office right now because he's just a hot mess when it comes to bookkeeping. And so we're working on a couple of projects that he's kind of getting tied up for 2020, and that I stand by my word. I believe that's what Matt would say.
Well, the reason I picked him up is you have a couple references that are fire chiefs. And I
Yeah.
know they'll tell me he'll help put out the fire. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you did mention the Holly people. So that's why I picked him off the reference list.
Yeah.
So you
Oh,
know-
no, that's
you know what my thought
fine.
was there.
I would totally be comfortable with any of them being contacted. Obviously, I didn't put on my reference list somebody that hates me. That'd be kind of
Wouldn't fit the bill.
right. But yeah, any one of those individuals are stand-up key people
Okay,
in my
thank you.
world. So.
Anything else? Well, at that point, I guess, Kat,
Okay.
we'll excuse you, and I guess we can probably talk amongst ourselves. a little
All
bit.
right, very good. Thank you so much. I
Thank you
appreciate
again.
it very much.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for the time. Second time around for me. So.
Oh, yes, no problem. I'm so sorry about my phone. I'm like,
Oh, it's okay.
I know I turned down the volume. Honestly, you'd think I was.
Actually, G. Matkowski, that used to happen to him all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah, his phone would go off all the time. So,
Me and Gene
That's why I left
apparently-
mine in the car.
I know.
That's why I made an exception to silence it before I sat down.
Well, I did.
thought about Gene. That used to happen all the time.
I turned down the silence and then it's like it didn't go.
Oh, I swear.
Well, thank you all so much, and I apologize about.
Oh, thanks for coming
no
out.
problem.
Yeah, next time you hear from me, I may be calling from Beaumont, but just to get my legs straightened out.
Okay, well,
Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
safe trip home.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Thank
nice
you.
meeting you.
If you want to go on this one, okay?
Oh, either way,
You tell me, I'm following you.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, that was probably one of her
She
biggest
has the flip phone
disappointments.
she could.
Yeah.
You mind?
That's probably one of the biggest disappointments, is having to leave that group and.
Oh, yeah.
She was
That was
committed.
tough.
Yeah, she was
Committed
committed
to
to
it.
that.
She left.
Yeah, that was probably the hardest thing for her.
So I'm gonna keep rolling here.
Yeah, I think so, probably for a couple, huh? We can-
Yeah.
We can have some discussion, I guess.
Turned out so
Well,
nice.
I'd-
Make a
Is
motion.
the-
Or we can make a motion.
Is the dollar and cents factor been thrown out there yet, or?
That's what we talked about upstairs. That's already done.
Let's wait until Dave gets back, I guess.
I was.
Yeah, no, we agreed, but I mean,
Yeah.
have they talked to her? Has she-
Oh, I
that's-
don't believe so.
Yeah.
No, because they can't without a motion going forward. It'd be like a bait and switch type thing.
Let's see what he has to say when he comes back. Well, a little different configuration, but it actually feels good to be back in chambers.
Yeah.
Wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So this aspect of it, usually it's there.
Okay, well, I guess, Dave, when you were out, Mark was asking, or I think Bob was
Bob.
asking. Bob was asking about if there'd been any discussion
Discussion with her.
about
Finances?
financial side of things. And I don't believe that was correct, right? I mean, I don't believe you guys have talked since.
I haven't. Oh, maybe Dave has, I don't know.
Yeah,
Not in any detail, Bob, no, because I wanted to get the sense from the rest of the council
right.
before I engaged in any substantive discussions. The one comment I would make, and you guys are aware of this, that after the first interview that Kathy had with the administrative committee, back before I was on board, there was some discussion at that point in time about compensation, and the issue of salary became a deal breaker for her at that point in time.
And at that point, she was still working for Grosse Pointe, so.
That's correct.
Right. She
That's
was still
correct.
employed, yeah.
Yeah, but as she indicated, what she's explained to me is that her circumstances have changed now. I've indicated to her that the village's position hasn't changed from what it was before. That is, we're not in a position where we're going to be offering any different package than what she found to be unacceptable before. But what she's indicated now, that again, her circumstances are different, and she's comfortable with the package that we're talking about. But we have not had specific discussion about a salary,
Okay.
no.
And I guess just to let you guys know, what we did discuss on the administrative committee was,
Well, it should be really, I would think we hold that until there's discussion with Dave
I
and
suppose,
her.
yeah, I
think.
suppose we could probably.
I don't think that
probably
should be
have
public
that
record right
discussed.
now.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So I guess.
She's available?
Let's make a, should we
Mark,
make
you
a,
making a motion?
yeah, I'll make a
Credentials?
motion that we allow our administrator to find out if she's willing to accept a position for the ballpark figure that we discussed at the administrative committee.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's gonna be either a yes or a no.
Well, yeah, or we offer a position to Catherine Burns and negotiate a contract for employment. That might sound a little bit better.
Yeah, I think what I'd be looking for would be authorization as the administrator to discuss employment with her and potentially negotiate the terms of a contract with her. And then the idea would be to bring the contract back to council for formal approval at a later date, if, in fact, we're able to come to terms. She and I are, so.
Okay.
Having just, met her for the first time, you're gonna be working with her closely, Dave.
Okay, but don't we need a second, and then we have to discuss?
Yeah, actually, that's probably a good point.
Yeah.
So, we have a motion, do we have a second on that
I'll
motion?
second that.
Okay, motion by Duff,
Sorry.
second by Malik, and now we have discussion, so.
So since you're gonna be working closely with her, in my opinion, your opinion matters greatly. Do you think that there's a good fit?
I am familiar with Kathy, as she indicated. Back in 2005 and 2006, when I was the city attorney for the city of Walled Lake through the law firm I was working for at that time, she was the treasurer. So we did work together at that time. And I know that the then manager in Walled Lake, Jerry Walker, that you referred to, thought very highly of her. I've talked to Jerry, who's now in Holly, since I came to work here, and Jerry still thinks very highly of Kathy, even though she left Holly to go to Grosse Pointe. And he said, you know, I'm not the type that I'm to say I told you so, but I told her before she left that I didn't think that Grosse Pointe was going to be a good move for her, and he said it is what it is now. So, yeah, I mean, on paper, yeah, I think obviously she's very, very qualified. As I think Mark had mentioned before, she's familiar with working in this area. She's familiar with working with the people at Oakland County, the various departments there, and the way that they have done business in the past and the way they're doing business now. Every county is a little bit different. So, yeah, I mean, we are a very small outfit upstairs, and anytime you take somebody away, I don't want to say someone as nice as Mike, but anytime you take a piece out of the puzzle and you put somebody in, you always worry about how that new person is going to fit. But, I mean, I think Kathy will be able to get the job done, yeah.
I have a question for you, Mike. With her background and all on paper, and you've been involved in the 3 different interviews, how's your feeling for someone to take your place? They'll never fill your shoes. But
Well said, Bob. You know, so much hinges on personality and the ability to get along and the ability to, you know, acquiesce and those kinds of things, and given the situation. But you're right. I mean, you're not going to find anybody with better or more credentialed. I like the fact that she's taken it on herself to further her education, thereby kind of, you know, talking you don't just talk the talk. She's walking the walk. She's actually giving you an example of the go-getter side of her. In my personal dealings with her, which very limited when she was at Walled Lake, and it was only due to the fact that we'd have those WC3 meetings where commerce and, okay. So, you know, she and I would get together a little bit. You kind of hang with your counterparts. I mean, I liked her then. I thought she was, you know, very sharp. I think she's, we've got some things to deal with here. You know, there's a new phone system. You know, we've sort of had to punt on that, but there are a lot of things she can sink her teeth into. And if she exhibits that kind of a trait, I think that's great. I think that's going to be a great help to the village. Stuff like that. And so, yeah, I mean, my dealings with her, she and I have had a lot of discussions, of course, outside of the administrative committee when we were first talking about this. I have her as a contact on my phone and could contact her or talk to her anytime. I feel very comfortable with her in that regard. I don't know if, you know, when we went through the thing where you know, she thought long and hard about the money, and it kind of, as Dave pointed out, was the deal breaker. You know, circumstances change. You gotta cut people slack, and it's sort of like, you know, I think all in all, I wouldn't hold anything like that against her. The fact that we had gone so far down the road, and then finally when she thought about it, it was like, nope, I'd rather make that 38-mile drive. Can you imagine? I wouldn't do it. But anyway, that's a long-winded answer to your question.
I used to do it.
Yeah, 38 miles.
40.
Oh.
No
Anyway,
easy
so
way.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm way ahead of the game in that sense. I'm thinking more in terms of, well, how do we realistically do the training, the handoff? You know, there's a lot of stuff I have to show her. I'm sure she's going to be a quick learner. Don't misunderstand, but so we're going to have to, you know, under these circumstances, work pretty pretty well together here over X period of time,
Mhm.
time unknown.
And just for council's benefit too, I mean, whether it's Kathy or anybody else, I mean, I appreciate Mike has been very, very flexible and not surprisingly, just very professional in terms of the way that he's approached a potential transition. Because what Mike has indicated to me is that, he doesn't have a specific drop dead date. There's no ultimatum here. He's wants to make sure that he's not leaving the village in a lurch when he walks out the door. So he is willing to stay for a period of time with whoever the new treasurer is to allow for a smooth transition. And he and I, we've even had a little bit of discussion about the idea of potentially in the spring when it comes time to start to think about ramping up for next year's budget. Given that I'm new to the position here, that we would have a new treasurer, that Mike would even potentially be willing to come back on an hourly basis as a contract employer or consultant to help us get off on the right foot with the budget for 21-22.
And actually, Mike's the one that actually brought Catherine to us in the first place. He found out.
Not
that,
directly, Mr. President.
Oh, okay.
I think she had approached John Ellsworth, and,
Okay.
That John and I had some talks, and then, put me in touch with her. And
Right.
then,
We were actually looking to fill that position possibly before the administrator.
that's right.
But it hasn't worked out not the other way, so.
Yep.
I think that Kathy would be a good fit, to tell you the truth. I mean, this is my third interview with her, and like everybody said, I mean, proof's in the pudding. You don't really know until you get somebody in, but,
And it's a new personality. Every new person brings something new to the table. And by her experience here on paper, she's got a lot to offer us, which I think we will need.
Yeah.
You know. Well, I shouldn't say we'll need, but will fit into the system that we have.
Can utilize,
We'll
for
benefit
sure.
from it.
Yeah. So with that, I guess,
Call a vote.
yeah, we can actually vote on this meeting, can't we? Okay. Anybody else have any discussion?
Yeah, is there any way to see the previous offer that was kind of not satisfactory for us? I know there's some people.
Well, I think that she was making around 90, wasn't she?
Oh, her salary at Grosse Pointe Woods was $88K.
Yeah, there we go, 88.
Yeah.
Plus benefits, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
that she was looking at something around, something in that neighborhood, plus or minus,
Right.
back when she was employed with Grosse Pointe. And that was, she's back, I think it was back last summer,
Yes.
that's correct?
August, I thought.
August?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even maybe July. I know we were talking about it earlier, quite a bit earlier last year, so. Yeah, so if that answers your question there.
I love it. But do we have access as council members to what previous offer that she deemed not adequate enough from the village?
We really never went
You
that
didn't
far.
go that far? Okay.
I mean, we kind of
Okay.
thought,
Yeah, because she wanted to maintain that
she
kind of
wanted to
number.
maintain that
Okay.
area.
And
We were,
we couldn't get there.
we weren't even
Yeah, we're
close to
closer
that, so.
70.
Okay. All right, so
Yeah,
you didn't
we're-
get to where she wanted to be.
Mhm.
That's, okay.
Yeah, my understanding is that, the discussions, they hit the brakes pretty quickly once they got to that issue or that topic, so.
Yeah. And not holding that against her because it's absolutely right. Circumstances change, things change.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's, I was just curious where.
Mhm.
And I'm enthused that she's looking for 10 years. I mean, that's a good amount of time.
Even if 10 ended up at 8, just to pick a number, that's still a good
Mm-hmm.
number of years to put in. Mike, you put in, what, 15?
Yes, sir.
And then unfortunately, we look at our last couple of administrators, I don't think we got 5 years on.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If you
So,
look at, her employment history, she's had
Yeah.
longevity basically in
Exactly.
a lot of her positions. So, I mean, that's important.
Yeah, and
Shows-
same, we went through it with David, his longevity at positions, which was one of the selling points, to bring you here to the village, even though you live here.
Well, it's extremely important in this environment too, because it takes, it's a process to get somebody there. And it's a process that costs too. So
Mhm.
the longer we're here, the more economical it is for.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to add on that topic, before we even set anything up with the administrative committee, I think it was the first or the second week that I was here, I guess the second week because after the Thanksgiving holiday, but Mike and I sat down and talked to Kathy, because I wanted to kind of get a read on where she was at and whether or not what she was looking for would potentially be compatible with what I understood the village was looking for at that point in time. And the issue of longevity or commitment was one of the first things that I raised with her, because I said it was made very clear to me during the interview process for the administrator that the village was looking for some stability
Mhm.
and some longevity in the position. And I said, they're looking for the same thing from the treasurer. And she said that she had no issue or problem with that at all.
I guess that was one thing that was, we've been used to around here for quite a while. We've had longevity, and then, with the last couple of administrators we had, it was out the window, so, we wanted to get back as a council in the community, we wanted to get back to have that stability. So. And I think that's where we're headed, so, it's,
Mr. President, I'd like to call for a vote.
okay. Roll call vote, please.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
And Dumas not here, so. I guess we're all set, so we have our marching orders to be able to go try to negotiate a contract with her and get her signed on board.
Yeah, so I'll keep you posted as to the progress we make, and I guess in an ideal world, I'd like to think that we would potentially have some kind of a contract that we could have on the agenda at our regular meeting in February.
I would think that'd be
Would be great.
easily
Approval. And then,
attainable.
And then have her on board, potentially working with Mike soon after that.
Mhm.
Because what she had indicated to me before, that if she's fortunate enough to get the position, that there's nothing as far as she's concerned that's standing in her way from
Right.
getting her started as
And
quickly
that's
as
what she
possible.
mentioned at the last
Yes.
admin meeting
Yeah.
also, yeah.
So,
Great. Well, with that,
We have any other business?
I don't believe we have anything else to discuss at this
I'd
meeting.
like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second. Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy, I guess.
Yeah, he got it.
That's close. It's easier in person, isn't it? Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay.